This is 365 Sports, powered by Sikkim365.com. Welcome to the Triple Option. Here's your host, Paul Catalina.
Welcome in, Paul Catalina and Steven Simcox. A brief respite from the Triple Option. The last Triple Option I did was with you,
me,
Steven.
Yeah, 2 in a row. Week. All right.
Yeah. So there we go. I mean, so it's, that's where we left things. Mm-hmm. You went on a Disney cruise, correct?
Yes.
Now I'm going on one next year. My wife's a huge Disney cruise fan.
Okay.
What is your review?
It was really good. It was fun. I mean, it was sort of exhausting at times because, there's a lot to do.
You have 4 kids.
4 kids. Brought all of them.
Yeah.
And, I mean, we wore them out. It was a good time. We saw all the Marvel characters were out one of the days. My boys are all about that. So we met, like, Captain America, Spider-Man, Thor, Black Panther, just back to back to back. And they have shows. So
they don't feel like they need to maybe, like, do something to save the Earth right now?
They're more into
on the cruise, Chip? I mean,
They're more into just kind of meeting and greeting,
Okay, well,
I mean, maybe
it's time for the Avengers to assemble. I'm just saying.
If they could, it would be great. But they're sort of doing the cruise ship thing right now. But first time I've been on a cruise. It was a good time. Food, it was like Golden Corral every day, which I think that's cool.
Uh-huh.
I guess buffet. Everybody kind of has their opinion about it, but my sons, I think, set a record for most mac and cheese eaten on a ship at one time. So that was cool to see. And, it was really good. I was happy. So we went on a 4-day, and I know you can do like 7 or 8-day cruises. I feel like that would be too much for me. I think 4 days was the right amount of time. I enjoyed it, and I was also like ready to disembark and get back to normal by the time it all ended.
Well, I'm glad you guys had a good time. Yeah, I'm glad you had a good time. I'll be going on one next year. Already started paying for it, so
it's a commitment.
Yeah, it's a commitment. Yeah.
Well, that'll be great, though. I'm excited for you guys. And you just got back from Fort Worth.
I did. Got back. We stayed at the Drover, which I love. Steven, I know that you went to school up there.
Yeah.
I doubt you ever went and crashed at the Drover while you were.
that wasn't the usual.
No, I had points, so I had to use it.
You got to use it. Yeah.
It's nice. They have a great restaurant there, 97 West. Had a nice little filet. It was lovely. We just had a good time. Nice, relaxing couple days away. My wife is from a big city. She's always lived in big cities, and so since she's moved here 4 years ago, I like it here. I truly do. But I've been here a long time, so you've always lived here. Mm-hmm. When you've lived here for as long as we have, you're used to the fact that there's not a lot to do.
Right.
Like you're used to, you figure out other things to do as opposed to where's there a place to go and do something. We've got some places, but like once you've done them kind of a thing. And then if you're not interested in what, the kind of vibe is, like sometimes it's hard. You get a little stir crazy. So we like to have little weekends where we, go to a metropolis.
The crazy thing is, and you'll know this well, even though there's not a lot to do here, there's so much more to do than there was even like a decade ago.
Yeah, that's what I tell her.
It's grown so much.
Like, I don't understand your complaints.
Like, I remember when there were, like, basically one movie theater, Now we got a couple. We got, like, bowling alleys. It's just different now.
Yeah. But if you're not into that, like, she's not, like, hey, like, then, or, like, if you do, like, you're used to, in Nashville, the greater Nashville area where she's from, if you want to go bowling or something like that, there's like 40 things to choose from. And there's not the like old one and the gross one, and the old one's nicer than the gross one.
Yeah.
But it's not setting the world on fire.
Sure.
Yeah.
And there's also live music every night and things going on.
Well, there's things going on, but sometimes it's nice to get out and try. I think it's, we love to travel anyway. Like if I had my druthers, like I would travel for like 40 weeks a year, or just get in the jet and be like, take me here. And that's where we do shows. Like, Steven, get on the jet. We're going to do today's show in Kennebunkport, Maine. I've always wanted to see it. I have disposable income in a jet. Let's go.
Yep. It's your remote on the dock out there.
Yeah. Well, just Just all the lobster you can throw down. Like, just keep it coming, guys. Keep it coming. We'll have Stephen King later in the show. But yeah, there's a couple things we did. Like, she likes to go shop. Like, the biggest thing is she likes to go shopping in the kind of stores, the things that we don't have. And there's a store called Alo, ALO, which is like a Lululemon, like a high-end, like, fitness fancy stuff. I don't get it. Like, when I go into Lululemon, like, there's nothing there for me, like, in my size at all. There's a lot of beefy chicks on the thing. I mean, like, I'm a little bit persecuted. Like, you know, it's fine for heavy women to buy your shit, but not me. Like, you know, body positivity is only for women. Pfft. I mean, I know that this is not a hill I'm going to die on.
I wouldn't suggest you do that.
No, but I mean, I do think, like, you walk in and, like, oh, I mean, that girl in that picture there, I mean, she hadn't missed, I mean, she's good for her trying, but, like, she hadn't missed any meals. And then I'm like, hey, what about me? And they're like, get out of here. Go eat a meatball, fatty. We don't want your kind. Like, that's how I feel. Aloe is even worse than this.
Than Lululemon?
Okay, Aloe's sizes are all, like, before you get to medium, they have, like, 7 different varieties of small, which there's not 7 different varieties of small.
I'm kind of interested to see what that looks like because I don't understand.
Because, like, you know, they're like, that. Okay, you can be an extra small or an extra, extra small or an extra, extra, extra or a small or regular small. And, like, what happened? Like, it's kind of like when they renamed, like, coffee decided we're going to rename sizes.
Like Grande and Venti.
Venti and all that stuff. Yeah. That's tall. Like, I don't know, like, tall, it's not, like, that's
the smallest, but in your mind, you're like, that should be.
Yeah, it should be
largest.
tall. But if you get a tall, it's only, like, it's tall. Like, that's like me saying I'm tall compared to a toddler. Like, I'm taller than all the toddlers I know.
It's true,
but I'm not tall.
Not
like,
tall,
if you ordered a tall guy and then I showed up, you'd be like, no, a tall guy. I'm like, well, I'm taller than toddlers, so, you know, your perspective. It's kind of like when you're like, somebody's like, oh, can we go to this place? And you're like, it's far away. And you're like, what's far? And they're like, it's like 10 minutes. And you're like, that's not far, dude.
Yeah, a new Hinge bio just dropped. A guy's going to say I'm tall compared to toddlers.
yeah. I'm tall compared to, like, a toddler. Anybody who hasn't hit a growth spurt yet. Like, I'm taller than them.
If you put me next to Kyler Murray, I would look kind of tall.
Yeah. No, yeah. So
So you just sit on the sidelines when you
go to Aloe. So I just sit on the sidelines. And I've said this on the show before. I think you were with me. If there's a husband chair or a husband area, a bench where I can sit and not be involved until I need to be, where she'll call me and say, hey, how does this look? And, you know, all those things. I'm fine. Like, she can stay at the stores all day. Where I get impatient is, and she's, like, to my wife's credit, Amanda is a very efficient, she's not a looky-loo. Like, she
gets what she wants, she gets
She
out.
knows where she likes, you know, she moves around the store like it's like she's on a walk, like a mobile walkway. Like, that's how she does. Like, she'll stop, but she's still moving, you know what I'm saying? Like, so it's like she's great when it comes to that. But, you know, most of these stores, like, Free People, there's nothing in there for me at all. I mean, I'm just going to go, like, I'm just waiting for her to go in there. I almost wish that I could just, like, rent a gay guy for the day and be like, hey, can you go?
You're tagging in?
Hey, like, maybe dress him up just like me and then just, like, send him in and he'll be like, ooh, no, that's great.
Get some opinions, yeah.
Get some opinions that are valuable other than, like, is that purple? I like that. You know, here's the thing. She does respect my opinion. I don't respect my opinion. I have no respect for my opinion. I feel dumb most of the time. When you take me into a store and ask me, does this look good? The only time I'm going to say no is if it's like a really weird look. But most of the time,
that looks great.
It looks great.
You look great in it.
Yeah. My wife's beautiful. I love her. And so, like, most of the stuff, she's got a great fashion sense. So she's like, it is going shopping with her is like Tiger Woods asking someone from the gallery if his putt's lined up straight. Like, hey, what's this look like to you, Fred? Oh, you mean me? Yeah, you, right there. You yelled out, get in the hole. I figured you know what you're talking about. What about you? No, don't listen to my caddy. I've heard him enough.
I need your opinion.
I need your opinion. This way. I mean, like, what am I going to do? Like, that's
helping out.
I don't know how I'm helping. I mean, I guess that, she likes to hear from a familiar voice that it's good, but I honestly, I really am not confident in my fashion abilities.
Have you ever watched Nathan For You?
Oh, yeah.
So if you don't know the premise of the show, Nathan Fielder plays this business expert who comes to struggling businesses, real businesses, and pitches them these absurd ideas under the guise of he's basically like a Shark Tank type of guy. And one of the ones that he pitched was at a department store, something called the Man Zone, where it's this idea, essentially.
Yeah.
It's a place where, men can sit down and have a beer and just hang out while their women shop. And the best part about it was he was like, we need to watch football, but because of royalties, we couldn't watch NFL games. So he just shows compilations of USFL highlights from back in the day. These men. But anyway, it is an intriguing thought. And yeah, I would think a la Lululemon, if they set up a small space with a TV and some drinks, kind of like a car dealership almost.
Yeah.
They have those areas and, on a much smaller level, but that would be super appealing.
If these boutique, all these, there were several, if there's a Tommy Bahama, I'll go in it. Mm-hmm. I can buy something at Tommy Bahama. But if it's mostly stores that are geared towards women, then I'm just along for the ride, which I don't mind. I like being out. I like getting a walk.
Sure.
But, I would like an area with good Wi-Fi. I don't even need TV. I've got
just your phone.
Just my phone. Just give me good Wi-Fi.
Place to sit.
And, maybe I was in San Antonio in the husband waiting area. There was a beer cart, a serve yourself beer cart, where basically you scanned, you had to scan in your ID and a little bit complicated, but then you based on how many beers you bought, you would just you get a cup and you scan it. And it's okay, well, Paul bought 3 beers. And so I would go scan my cup and drink a beer and scan my cup and drink a beer. And I mean, that was the best day of my life shopping.
That's a great idea. Yeah.
And then we walked past the sunglass hut and I got some new sunglasses. So I felt like I was winning. Mm-hmm. I also feel a little like a child when I'm shopping with her, where she'll tell me, hey, if let me go to these 3 places and then we're going to stop here and there's this really cool ice cream place. I'm like, ooh, ice cream, awesome. I get a
little treat.
I get a little treat.
If you're quiet and you don't say if you don't do anything embarrassing,
yeah,
while I'm doing this, then we'll take care of you afterwards.
Yeah, if you don't break anything in the store, if you don't throw a hissy fit, all right, it's because it reminds me of. Did you ever have to go into the toy store with your parents to buy something for another kid for their birthday?
Or my sister, yeah.
Yeah. It's really kind of cruel parenting.
To a certain extent, yes.
Yes. I mean, you could just go on your own and not tease your kid and tell them this drift's not for you. I know that you want everything that's in this store, and the thing that we're getting for your friend is likely something that you want too. But it's not your birthday. Christmas is 4 months away. You're just going to shut up and take it. And when you're 7 years old, that logic makes no sense. Mm-hmm. You're yeah, but we're in the place that has the thing today. And you're yeah, but it's not for you. All right, we'll get him one and get me one. And then he and I could talk about it. What is the problem? Are you that short on cash? Maybe you need to work harder, Dad. But
no, it is crazy, how for kids that's such a mental block of the idea of getting something for someone else. It's this weekend, my 3-year-old, he was pretty much the youngest one there. He was with his siblings and cousins, and his cousins that are older, more teenage years, they're very nice, and so they would let him borrow something. One of them let him borrow this Captain America shield, and he kept telling me, he was oh yeah, Mason gave me this. And I was okay, we need to understand something. Mason gave it to you right now, but like at the end of this, you're going to give it back to him. But he did not really, it didn't register in his mind the idea of like, well, why would he not just give it to me for good?
Yeah.
Because I want it, so it's my thing.
Yeah.
You know.
No, those are tough lessons that I'm glad that I don't have to teach as a non-parent. I also found out what the term DINK means, which means double income, no kids.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I've heard that.
Yeah, and we're going to Houston for our anniversary because we have several like little trips coming up, but we don't because of that we're not taking a big trip like we do every year. And I know we haven't talked about sports one bit yet, but I do find this funny and I like bouncing the stuff off of you. So a couple of my friends in Houston, I said, hey, we're going to be down there in June. And I told them where we were staying and they're like, oh, you guys are dinks. And I was like, what? So I Googled it and I was like, oh yeah, no, that's true. That's true. I can't push back on that.
2 incomes, no children to spend it on. So.
No.
Do your thing. Live your life. Enjoy your freedom.
As long as I don't have a kid, I mean, it's not in the offing. It's not.
Right.
It's not. It's just whatever happens.
Mm-hmm.
You know. So, but maybe I will. Maybe I won't. So,
if not, you can just keep playing these trips.
Yeah. Everybody tells me they think I'd be a good dad.
Yeah, you'd be a great dad.
You think so?
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, Emery's not here, but he's like the son I've always wanted. So if I could have a kid like Emery.
You have plenty of radio kids or like broadcasting kids.
I do.
That you've ushered through life.
Garrett, you, Emery, now Andrew. And I mean, Andrew's dad is my friend. But I mean, I've got lots. Yeah. I'm the paterfamilias. Yeah.
You've walked through this in different variety of ways.
Yeah, I have. All right, Steven, the Big 12 tournament's going on right now. TCU lost to Colorado yesterday.
Yeah.
I would assume that ends their season.
I would think so, even though they're definitely not making the NCAA tournament. I don't know about the United team.
Yeah.
I saw yesterday. Do you have any feel on how the college basketball crown tournament works? Because I saw somebody reporting that Arizona State is going. They have the opportunity to. And I said, well, if they do, then I guess TCU might have that chance. But I don't know how they're determining that. I'm not sure if it's about regionality, appeal, or what. But yes, for all intents and purposes, their season is over. And a really disappointing last month of the year for Jamie Dixon's squad. They had a chance to kind of play their way back into tournament contention and just couldn't do it. Lost 4 of their last 5, lost their Big 12 tournament game, and now they're on the outside looking in for the first time in the last 3 seasons.
Yeah. What do you think the temperature is for Jamie Dixon in Fort Worth?
Well, it's a good question. I feel like he's definitely getting another year. Realistically, he's getting another year. Mm-hmm. The disconnect right now is with Jamie, TCU's sort of facing a common question in college sports, which is you have the person employed who brought you from the abyss. So Jamie Dixon took over a decade ago, and TCU basketball was historically horrible. They really had nothing, to point to as far as accomplishments go. And he's gotten them to a place where they're in the NCAA tournament or on the verge of it every year, which when he took the job, that would have been amazing. And I feel like most people would have said, oh yeah, that's great. If our basketball team is competitive, then that's all we really want. But there's definitely a subset of TCU fans that are like, hey, I feel like we've hit the ceiling with this guy and there's nowhere else to go. So maybe it's time to make a move. Mm-hmm. Now he faced a similar situation a few years back, after Mike Miles' freshman year. Mm-hmm. They missed the tournament 2 years in a row, and they looked very lost. And they were able to rebuild quickly, and then they went on a nice little run after that. So I think it's fair to give him some time to figure that out. But, you can always build in the transfer portal, Paul, but right now there's nobody on this roster that looks like they can be a lead dog. They got a guy coming in, Caden Edwards from Duncanville, that they're super excited about. I'm not sure if he can step in as a freshman. But, it's funny. I remember when I was working with you at the station, we kind of saw this with Scott Drew, where he had a few teams that made the NIT, and they looked pretty lost. And I wouldn't say he was on the hot seat, but there were some questions that were beginning to start of has he hit his peak? And then, of course, he reinvented himself and they won a national title. I don't think that's in Jamie's future, but I do wonder if he's got basically a third version of himself in this tenure, because this would be another time where he's really rebuilding again kind of from scratch. And, do you have the energy and enthusiasm and ability to do that a third time? You don't see that a lot in college sports.
No, you don't. And it's really hard to get people, to like rally a program constantly in this world of college sports where you just got to be like, well, money, we need money. And then a lot of times they're like, well, we gave you money last year and you didn't maximize it, and there's only so many times, well, this guy got hurt or that guy got hurt before it kind of runs out, and basketball is a really hard sport to be consistent in. It really is. Like, Kansas is struggling right now, right?
Your roster. I mean, at this point, your roster's turning over every year.
Yeah,
significantly. And unless you're a blue blood that has the ability to fundraise / convince, I think part of the issue TCU's having, they're getting some money, but it's like if they can only match what some of the better programs are doing, well, then somebody else is still going to say, well, why would I go here if I can go to KU or Houston or Baylor or whatever? It's like if you're really going to be competitive, you're going to have to overpay. You're going to have to set the market at a higher level and say, okay, well, we can give you more than these people, and maybe that'll be what entices you to come play here. So it is tough, and it's it's that donor fatigue we're seeing everywhere, where it's like, well, I've been given for facilities, I've been given for players, now you want more. It's a constant battle.
By the way, in case you're not watching it right now, Iowa State and Cincinnati, 65-56, with 3:30 left to go in the game. So if Cincinnati wants their season to continue at all, they got to pick it up. But once they lose today, they'll be done. Although 7-13 in the Big 12 is what ended them. I mean, being so far under 500, they're going back to 18 games next year, Stephen. I think part of that is so that they can it'll be easier to finish 500, which gets you in the tournament,
or 8-10 maybe.
Yeah. So.
Were you surprised that your mark threw out the idea of 76 teams?
No, because we talked to him about it last year at Big 12 Pro Days, which we'll be at next week. At Big 12 Pro Days, I straight up asked him. I said, "There's a lot of buzz about expanding this tournament," and I said, "Tonight you're going to go. They're having games in Dallas." I said, "You're going to go." I said, "Brett, if you walk to everybody in the stands and polled them and said, should we make this thing bigger?" I don't know if you'd even get to 1% of them that would say yes.
Yes, right, yeah.
So why are you doing something that the fans don't want at all? In any way, shape, or form. They don't want it. There's no way they would say absolutely not. Why would you do that? And when it comes down to that, the answer is money. That's it, money. There's no other thing to it.
Yeah, for sure.
And the other part of it is they said, well, we'll allow more teams to get in the tournament that might be deserving, but are they going to – okay, so, Delaware's on this ridiculous run, right, where they were awful during the year. They lost 11 out of 12, but they're making a run through the tournament. Well, they're going to knock somebody out of that one-bid league. Well, why would you not use one of those 76 to make sure that team gets in? That's not what you're going to do. What you're going to do is you're going to make sure the bubble teams from the power conferences, right, of which there are more in college basketball than there are college football. But so in college, in college football, it's a power 4. In college basketball, it's really a power 7 or 8. You have teams. So, but you're not going to go make sure that the Missouri Valley that could have 4 teams gets all 4 of those teams in.
You're going to put an under 500 Syracuse team in there.
Yeah, exactly. That's what you're going to do. And that to me is not helping anyone. Plus, they have the thing at a number. I'm not nuts about 68, but I'll put up with it. And
because you can tune out the first 4. If you don't want to, you don't have to watch a second of the first 4.
Yeah.
And you can just on Thursday at 11 Central Time.
Yeah.
Lock into the field of 64.
Yeah, but I I don't have any, like, there's no draw for me for, like, the first four. Here's one thing is annoying about the first four. Like, it really messes with my bracket preparation. Like, it really,
you don't know,
really
like,
does.
who the 11's going to be for that 6.
Yeah, so, like.
Well, and there's been, I mean, a number of
Yeah.
teams, like VCU most famously, but there's been a number of teams that win that game, and then they use that momentum to win at least their first round, second round game, whatever you want to call it. But they win that game against the 6th seed, and then now they're in the round of 32.
Yeah.
Or Sweet 16.
Yeah, exactly. And so, like, that's another thing I don't like about it. 64 is nice and even. I can look at it and go, okay, I know how these teams match up. You know, and if there's a 16-1 upset or a 15-2, if I don't pick those, nobody did. You know, some guy who filled out 3,000 brackets with AI, did that, right? I'm not.
Well, it's also crazy because, like, as college sports fans, one of the things that we do best is complain.
Yeah.
And
and part of the reason we complain is we have a lot of complaints.
Yes, because there's no perfect system. Like college football playoff, we're never going to get it perfect.
Yeah.
We're getting closer, I feel like.
Yeah.
But there's always going to be politics involved. You're never really going to have enough teams. But the basketball tournament is perfect. I mean, nobody has issues with it. It's the right number of teams. Yeah, there will be, on Selection Sunday, there will be an article about the team that got snubbed. But we don't think that team can actually win a title. Like, the problem in football is, for years, the number 5 team, yeah, they might have won. Even, 13, 14, you can still make the argument. Team 65, 69, 70, those teams aren't winning the whole thing.
Yeah.
We're just arguing like they should be in and have a chance to play. And then once the games start, you get it's gluttony. It's just 4 days of just straight hoops. You see upsets. You see great players, great teams. There's nothing wrong with it.
No.
Like, there's no reason to add anything to it.
No. Not at all. No reasons.
No reasons.
Yeah.
Except for money.
Yeah, it's just money. It's just greed. And here's the thing. The networks aren't coming in, like CBS hasn't said.
Demanding.
It said no, like, hey, okay, here, we'll give you some more money. They haven't done that yet. Because I think even they know, they're like, yeah, but this thing is so, like, it's crystallized perfectly.
Yes.
Like, why would we want this at all? What is going on? Like, and so it's just greed. And we are in the golden age of greed right now of everything. Like, that's part of the reason that you see so much pushback and so much. I'm not going to call the players greedy right now. I do think it's, it exists in every human being. It's one of the deadly sins for a reason. Like, it wasn't like 6.5. And like, well, greed, kinda. Like it's
a very universal thing.
It's a very universal thing. But in college athletics, the schools are so greedy for so long, and every time they got called on it, there's like, well, no, I mean, there's no other way to do this. And then they started running out of excuses. Like they always kind of had something until you're like, wait, how much money does this coach make? How much money does the 5th coach on the staff make? And you guys aren't even like, up until 5 years ago, they weren't even paying for all their food. Right. They just determined like, well, every school can afford this much. So this is what you can allot to everything. And then you've got guys at places like Michigan State, they're like, yeah, I get to eat once a day, really, but I also have to train like a friggin' maniac.
Yeah.
So my body requires like 4,000 more calories than Ted over here, who just lives in the dorm and plays video games and goes to class.
I can't live off 2.5 tacos a day or whatever it is.
Yeah. Well, I need there's a reason that now when they walk in, they give them this gigantic here's your protein shake. Mm-hmm. Make sure you drink this much water. At dinner, here we're going to give you everybody's got this tailored meal to them because we want peak performance.
You need to eat Uncrustables at 10 o'clock at night. There's a
Hey,
whole nutrition plan.
When Smokey and I went to the Holiday Bowl when Baylor beat UCLA, what happened was because it was in San Diego, a lot of the players and their families decided to stay and just make a family trip out of it over the holidays. Mm-hmm. So the Holiday Bowl pays for the charters, but on the way back, they have to be at least so much filled. And so Baylor came to us and said, hey, would you guys like to fly back on the charter with us straight to Waco, which my dad had to come and pick us up at the airport in Dallas and then drive us pick us up in Waco and drive us to Dallas
to get your cars.
To get our car. But it was like, yeah, I mean,
that's awesome.
Yeah. The seats are bigger, even in coach, for these charter planes, one. And then, but the meals they were giving us were like for the football players. And it was like 4 peanut butter and jelly sandwiches and like this bag they just gave you when you got on the plane, which was all the snacks to make it from San Diego to Waco, which is like a 3-hour flight. Like there was 8 hours worth of food here. Honestly, like if we had a lost situation, we'd have been okay for a minute.
You could have scratched it out for a few days.
like they would have come to like find us and like, you guys hungry? Like, I honestly no. We've had lots.
It's also awesome because
I would really like a shower, but I'm pretty good.
Yeah, it's also awesome because you would have crashed in like Mesa, Arizona. It wouldn't have been like on a desert island. Yeah. Would have been like in Lubbock.
Yeah, just sitting out there like in the middle, like, I mean, somebody's got to come and get us. You guys want another PB&J? There's a ton of them back here because the players weren't there. And when the flight attendants were like walking up and down the aisles, they're like, oh, where are all the players? And then so they would tell them. And then the one lady, she goes, we have like literally a box of food that we have to give to Baylor.
Yeah.
And so I'm sure like the basketball team or somebody like that night, like
just feasted.
It's like, hey guys, here you go, come on by after practice and grab whatever's in here, you know. But like they gave me like 4 bananas.
You didn't cramp,
I love a banana, but
I'm like
that
day.
The last time I've eaten 4 bananas in a day would be I've never eaten 4 bananas in a day, and I love a good banana.
Yeah, just potassium overload.
Yeah, but you know, I was like, no, I just walked around the gas lamp a couple times, so I don't really need to carbo load. So, but yeah, it's you know, so like there was so much greed. When there's so much greed, there's violent pushback. Mm-hmm. It is. And this is throughout all of human history. When people get gluttonous, then the people who are the victims of that, eventually, if you don't listen and go, okay, yeah, how much do I really need? It gets bad for you. And right now it's bad for the NCAA because for so long they just said, no. Oh, TV contract more and more and more. Oh, great. You know.
Well, and you're seeing, we see it with coaches that are just like, this is not what I signed up for. It's not what I'm used to. Like, I don't know how to exist in this world.
I think a lot of them, like, they're for it.
Yeah, but they don't know how
they have no idea how to navigate.
They don't know how to navigate it.
Yeah.
They don't know how to deal with their starting running back being like, hey, this other guy, like, I ran for 1,000 yards. I need more cash.
Yeah. Now, it'll get like, and here's the thing. There is one way to deal with it. It's collective bargaining.
Right.
But they're so afraid of it because they know they're going to lose a lot of what they have. So when we come back, we're going to talk NFL free agency and then the wheel, which is the Cowboys' worst free agency signings of all time, which, Steven, you had to probably go back in the annals to do this because I don't think they've made a truly bad free agency signing considering that they don't really do that. Yeah,
the interesting thing about the list, it is pretty recent, but it's a lot of like 1-year deal guys because that's all they do.
Yeah.
Like it's just, hey, we need a stopgap defensive lineman, so let's sign this vet D lineman, and then he doesn't turn out to be what they want. But to their credit, like they don't have a ton of like long-term deals that they're just saddled with.
No. I will, I'm curious if did you put Brandon Carr on there? That was the last big one.
Yeah.
Okay.
I did, which, you can kind of weigh there was a lot of, I didn't put T.O. on there. That was on a lot of these lists. And I was like, I get why people would say that, but from a production standpoint, he was awesome.
He's great. Like, the only reason they'd let go of him is because they needed, the chemistry in that team that year was completely cratered because of the Tank Johnsons and T.O.s. They needed a culture shift. Yeah. And Jason Garrett didn't want to go in, having to he wanted to reset the locker room. He had to reset the locker room. That was the hard, that was the Hard Knocks year, was the, I don't know,
It was all yes. It was wild, and there was also some names that I was like, oh man, Mike Vanderjagt. I hadn't thought about him.
Oh yeah,
in a long time.
Yeah. No. So we'll do that next. This is 365 Sports and the Triple Option.
Month at Allen Samuels in Waco. Right now, drive home a 2025 Ram 1500 Laramie Crew Cab or Ram Lone Star Crew Cab, both with massive $15,000 off MSRP. Looking for unbeatable value? Drive home a Ram 1500 Tradesman Quad Cab starting at just $35,995 or upgrade to a Tradesman Crew Cab for only $37,995. These deals won't last long. Hurry to Allen Samuels today.
Come by. Let's be friends.
I'll never get used to this.
Whatever it is you wrangle, whatever seeds you sow, no matter what you nurture or what you choose to grow, at Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, we're proud to protect all Texans.
Developed by Startup Waco, a nonprofit organization, GXG is a program designed to support the entrepreneurial development of Baylor University student athletes through NIL activations. The program helps student athletes maximize their platforms and offers a comprehensive support system for them to create and grow new businesses that not only benefit themselves, but also uplift the local economy. Fans who wish to support student athletes can donate to GXG via the GXG NIL Fund, BaylorBears.com/GXG. Contributions to support NIL activations through GXG can be made at BaylorBears.com/GXG. For more information, follow @GXG_GreenXGold on social media and visit the official website www.gxg.startupwaco.com. GXG, empowering student-athlete entrepreneurship and uplifting the local economy through NIL activations.
This is 365 Sports, powered by Sikkim365.com. Welcome to the Triple Option. Here's your host, Paul Catalina.
Alongside Steven Simcox, and we have the wheel here in just a second. But Steven, we're going to talk Cowboys free agency in a second, which is a thing that doesn't really exist that much. Like it's a
myth.
They're there, like they show up, but they're not front of the class.
No, and it's crazy because the trade deadline, free agency, you're not guaranteed to get what you want or even guaranteed to get good people, but it's still exciting as a fan because you see all the deals going across and you're like, oh, okay, this person in that uniform, was his fit like on this team? But then as a Cowboys fan, you're just seeing all this movement and you're like, well, guess we're not involved in that. Guess that's not my thing. So it's pretty disheartening. But yes, Dallas doing what they do, just kind of staying pat, staying the course, getting ready for the draft, the usual.
Yeah, the weird thing about it to me is that they this year have cleared it. They have a ton of cap space. They've cleared it out. They had this cap panic, and it's actually really not that big of a deal. And they could have made some moves, and maybe they'll make some trades. because they're going to have to, because they've got, this is not just about like, oh, hey, let's make the team better. That's like, you've got to fill spots. Like you have to, before the draft, because you don't know. Right now, they have no idea what positions they're going to have in the draft. They have no idea. They know what positions they're going to target, but you also don't want to rely on those guys to definitely have to start. And they don't have starting linebackers today.
Which I've heard is important.
Yeah. And, if they're going to sit out, like they're really bad at, and here's the thing about trades, they're so bad at it. The Amari Cooper, the Browns just turned Amari Cooper for profit. The Cowboys got nothing out of that.
Nothing.
And then lesser wide receivers were traded after him for a lot more.
I thought about including trades in the wheel, but I didn't. But yes, there's a number of. I mean, the first one that comes to mind for me is a Roy Williams wide receiver trade. But there's a number of either trading people out or acquiring folks that just did not work.
No, they just don't. Doesn't work. I mean, they're really bad at it. Really, really, really bad at it. They have no idea what draft pick value is. They have no idea. They don't know. And so anyway, but here's some weird things I think that are going on I'd like your opinion on.
Okay.
One, you have maybe 3 teams right now. The Giants, Steelers, and Vikings waiting on Aaron Rodgers, who will take his sweet-ass time. Peter Schrager said this morning, it could be a month. And
that's weird because he doesn't seem like somebody that likes attention.
But he's going to take his time, and I understand that he's one of the all-time greats. But it's over, bro. It's over.
It's not only over, it's like I'm really rooting for the Steelers. Because this is not something that they do. Typically.
Yeah.
Now, they've had some big personalities like James Harris and Antonio Brown, but those were guys those are homegrown guys. Yeah. And I want to see what this looks like if Mike Tomlin turns on McAfee, during a game week and Aaron's talking about aliens or whatever he's on. Like just what that dynamic is with an organization that is the epitome of like, we're about business, we're consistent. We don't always have the best players, but we're big time on like culture and understanding each other and pulling the same rope. I mean, bringing him into that mix would be fascinating. So I would like to see that. But, quarterback desperate league, I don't know. I guess somebody thinks they can fix him. I don't see it, Paul. I think that's a mess waiting to happen.
Yeah. I just think that sometimes you need to and I know you're desperate for quarterbacks, but you might also just need to say, well, it's not going to be this year.
Right.
Do the best you can. Don't sign Aaron Rodgers. He's not going to help you short term or long term.
I mean, the Vikings just got Sam Darnold paid.
Yeah.
I mean, they could have re-signed him. They didn't, but they've got a great coach who has a good track record with quarterbacks. Like, find a young QB. I mean, they got a young QB in J.J. McCarthy, but, see what that looks like. Let him work in that offense, and you can evaluate after the season.
Yeah. Why? And also, if you're the Giants, why would you
do this?
Why would you do this? Or if you're Aaron Rodgers, why would you go to the Giants? Do you want to win? The thing about him going to the Jets is he thought, oh, they're a quarterback away. No. They weren't.
They're not. No, they weren't.
They're not a well-run organization. The Giants are a quarterback, 3 offensive linemen, and a couple of defensive players away. What's going on here? What are we doing if you're going to the Giants?
What do you make of, and I just bring this up because of the Giants connection, is the Shador, his stock falling? Do you think that's just everything surrounding him, or is it legitimate on-the-field concerns? I mean, I'm hearing he's dropping late first round, out of the first round.
I think that's the Giants and other teams that want him. I think that's them
throwing stuff
that out there. Yeah.
Okay.
There's no way there's only going to be one quarterback taken in the first round.
Okay. So, yeah,
There's
that's
no way.
just a smokescreen.
Like the thing you're going to hear about him a lot is he took a lot of sacks. Yeah, his offensive line was terrible.
Y'all watch Colorado's offensive line?
If you watch the 2 years of these guys, like, look, here's the deal. You're a big guy. There's a big guy in front of you. Understand sometimes that big guy is better than you. But all you got to do is just get in front of his fat ass. And they couldn't do that at all in any situation.
They also threw the ball all the time.
Yeah, because they couldn't run it.
They couldn't run it. And then he hired Pat Schumer basically just to be like, hey, you're just going to throw it all the time, right? Because that's what I need to do. That's what I want to do.
Yeah. I've got all these big offensive linemen, and they're essentially, outside of Jordan Seaton, who's really good, and he was a true freshman last year.
Right.
Outside of this one 18-year-old kid, I've got 4 guys who are just thinking about that post-game meatball sub. It's all, like, I can't. I get it. Like, we're going to pump them up and we're going to do as much as we can. Like, hey, guys, maybe we'll put pepperoni on it this time if Shedeur doesn't get hit 12 times. You can have we'll get you a whole big party sub. If he does not get hit at all in this game, we will get you a party sub that would fill up the locker room. And no one else can have it but you. That's it. Guys, just please.
That BYU game, I mean, you see it every year in football, but it's just such an example of like, oh, that's a physical football team playing a team that is not physical.
Yeah.
And the rubber met the road in a big way.
Which, to me, shows you that Dion and his staff are actually really good at what they do to overcome that, which is the most important thing you have to have. They overcame it, and were Big 12 contenders the whole season.
Right.
But you can but once you run up against that matchup, like, even had they been able to, like, pull the wool over the rest of the Big 12's eyes and maybe even win the Big 12 title, there was going to be a point where they would have had to play Texas or something like that, where it was just going to be like,
it's going to be a bad day.
Yeah, like Shedeur would just come out wrapped in bubble wrap and like, hey, this is precautionary. It's going to be bad, kid. It's going to be really bad. All right, let's get into this wheel here,
okay.
Steven.
Let's do it, Paul. So I put 10 on here. We're ranking 1 through 10.
1 through 10, okay.
On worst free agent signings.
All right.
Here we go. Everson Griffin. Remember this back in 2020?
I do. I'll put that at like 7. Like, just nothing happened from it, but he wasn't a net
Horrible.
negative. Yeah.
Dude, was that Mike Nolan that was the DC that year?
Yeah. Buddy Hire.
That was.
I was doing the podcast with Orlando Scandrick then, and that was a Buddy Hire for sure. That's what he called it. He's like, Buddy Hire.
Remember when he got the hot sauce in his eye?
Yeah.
At a press conference?
Yeah.
And that was basically like the entire season for that defense.
Yeah.
Wrapped up there.
Yeah.
Okay. Everson Griffin, number 7. Gerald McCoy, 3 years, $18 million.
Well, that's about it because he didn't play a lick.
No, he got hurt.
He got hurt right away and retired. I'm gonna have to put that one at. This is why they're scared of it, because they do that. I'll put him at 9 because I feel like I'm gonna have to leave some room for a really bad one. But like, he didn't play a second for the Cowboys.
Were you at camp when he got hurt?
Not maybe. I think I might have been. Yeah.
Okay.
What year was that they signed him?
I think it was 2019.
Yeah. That was the last time I was there.
Okay.
Yeah. I was there.
Brandon Whedon, 2 years, $1.5 million.
We'll put him at 8. I mean, that's just having a backup quarterback. The Cowboys don't put much value into that position. Brandon Whedon was a first-round pick, so I don't know why, but he was.
He's good at Oklahoma State. He was like 27 years old.
Yeah. And that was when they were getting out of their like baseball phase.
They do love a baseball QB.
They did. I mean, Drew Henson, Chad Hutchinson, Quincy Carter, Brandon Whedon. Yeah, no Chris Winkie. So, yeah, come on.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
When I have some friends, I'm showing the studio.
Oh yeah, no, yeah. We're spinning the wheel live. Okay, bring him on in. Bring him on in. Just have him not make a lot of noise.
Okay, they're gonna make tons of noise.
Yeah.
Wait, like literally.
Yeah, we're doing it right now. We're doing the show right now. You're walking in front of the cameras as we speak.
Oh, okay,
Yeah, yeah. We are live right now. So come on in.
Walk through.
See, listen.
Let's get a parade going.
Here's the deal. This is what happens when the boss comes in. You just let him do what he wants.
Yeah.
You just let him walk around.
Give him a mic.
So there we go. Yeah.
We'll have the team cut this clip.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. So, Steven, go ahead.
All right, Dontari Poe. 2
Ooh.
years, $9 million.
Ooh, Dontari Poe was a bad one. That was a really bad one. What do I have, 7 available?
7 is Everson Griffin. You got 6 available. You got 1 through 6 available and 10's available.
We'll put him at 6.
Okay.
Dontari Poe also didn't play much. He played he was there a good chunk of the season, but never played.
Yeah, he was supposed to be the solution to their run defense
problem,
issues.
Yeah.
And he was not.
No. He came off a Disney cruise, that's for sure. That's what he did.
Greg Hardy, 1 year, $15 million.
10. That's the worst one. I was there for Greg Hardy. And the reason I'll put it that, he had a couple of good games for the Cowboys, where you're like, oh, man, this is what this guy has. But football players, athletes will put up with some stuff from guys. Yeah. They all have, a little bit of okay, well, that was a mistake, that was dumb. But if you're here, you show up, you work every day. There was not one, if you went through the whole locker room and asked all 52 guys that were there, the guy who probably got cut to replace him on the roster, do you want Greg Hardy in this room? All of them would have said no.
Yeah.
It was palpable disgust that they had for that human being. Palpable disgust. You would see him getting interviewed, and then you would look at the people next to him, and it was like they just ate a lemon. They were just ugh, this guy. They just absolutely hated him.
It was a huge national story. And he had that weird interaction. Actually, one of his better games from a football standpoint was when New England came to town.
Yeah.
He had a couple sacks. We had that super weird interaction with Mike Fisher about Brady's wife, Giselle Bundchen.
I was there.
That was bizarre.
I was there.
Yeah.
It was very weird.
It was horrible from the start.
Yeah, again, he's not a good human being.
Right.
He's a very bad man. And there are guys who have human frailty, and then there's bad people. Mm-hmm. And Jason Garrett couldn't stand it. They all could not stand him. Then actually, if you think about it, who was the linebacker from Alabama that they brought in?
Oh. Yeah, he
worked out for
Rolando McClain.
Rolando McClain. He kind of worked out a little bit, but
yeah, he did.
But Greg Hardy, if you really look at it, Greg Hardy's the last Jerry's home for wayward football players that's happened, because it wrecked that locker room. And then the next year after he was gone, they were really good, and part of that was their team got better, but also you could tell there was nobody like Greg Hardy in there.
Yeah,
they just hated him.
All right, we'll go with the kicker, Mike Vanderjagt.
We'll put him at 6.
3 years, 5.5
I did have him at 6 or 5.
5.
5. Yeah, he's fine. That was, it was worth a try, but then they also had David Beeler back then. They also had David Beeler? And then he wound up being the kicker ultimately.
Yeah, because Mike was done.
Yeah, he was completely done.
He's done.
I've never seen a kicker hit the wall like that. He really hit the wall. And then after that brought about the greatest kicker they've ever had. Mm-hmm. Until now in Brent Aubrey.
Yeah,
but
yeah. No, he was completely mentally shot after that miss against the Steelers.
You can say a lot of things about the Cowboys. Over their history, they've been excellent at finding kickers. Dan Bailey, unbelievable.
Right.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, Brandon Aubrey's
incredible. They got the best years out of Lynn Elliott and Richie Cunningham and Tim Cedar, and Nick Folk's been in the league for 20 years now. He started out with the Cowboys, so.
All right, we got a couple more here.
Okay.
Eddie George, back in the day.
I'll give him they needed a guy and flyer. I'll put him at 4.
At 4, okay.
Yeah. Bowling Green head coach Eddie George.
That's right.
Potential, like I would say, if he keeps on the ascendancy, when Ohio State fans get mad at Ryan Day again, like that's one of the guys they're going to throw that out. Yeah, right.
I could see that.
Like if he keeps rising up the charts, if he wins at Bowling Green, and then say he goes from Bowling Green to like, NC State or something, like it's going to be one of those deals where they're like, hey, Eddie, everybody likes Eddie, and he wins. Ryan can go take the Colts job or the, whatever, and we can have a guy that we like that wins.
Somewhere in my parents' house in a box is maybe the saddest sports poster of all time. I bought it at the Scholastic Book Fair. It said 3 stars, and it was Quincy Carter, Eddie George, and Joey Galloway.
Please find that.
I need to find it.
Find it. Find it. I will pay to have it laminated, and I'm gonna put it up in a studio. I'm gonna put it up.
A legendary trio.
Yeah.
All right, Ha Clinton Dix. Again, a 1-year deal for $3.5 million.
This is hard. He didn't make the team out of training camp. He didn't make the team. And I've got to put him at 4, don't I?
3. You can put him at 3.
3. I'll put him at 3. I mean, I appreciate them signing him, but he didn't make the team out of training camp. It was only a 1-year deal, but man, he was cooked.
He was
so cooked.
All right, this one, if you want to replace with somebody else, you can. Zeke Elliott, I don't know how you feel about it. The reunion of Zeke this past year.
I'll put him at 2. I mean, they needed it. Fine. The thing, I'm more mad about it than, it actually didn't turn out to be much, but, all these have the same story to them, in one way or another.
And then the last big signing, Brandon Carr, 5 years, $50 million.
Here's the thing. He was going to be number 1 the whole time. And the thing is, Brandon Carr was good for a stretch. But I watched the night his career started to end. It was a Thursday night game. They played against the Bears. I went up there, and I was outside before the game, and all I saw were Bears fans coming in. Nothing but Urlacher jerseys, just Urlacher, all over the place. And Brandon Marshall broke Brandon Carr that night. So much so that in the post-game locker room after the game, nobody wanted to go talk to Brandon Carr because you could see how distraught he was about, every athlete has it, and sometimes you don't get to see it publicly, but it really was is this it for me? I didn't realize it at the time, but on the way home, I was like, man, that might have been is this it for me moment of, I mean, he got so roasted in that game. And Brandon Carr was such a hard worker and so dedicated and this unbelievable teammate. That's when they decided to move into safety afterwards that next year. But those are the things can I hang with these dudes anymore? Yeah. And I'm doing everything I know to do. I've been an elite player in this league, and he was. He had great seasons, but that was tough. But he was still I admired them doing it and getting Brandon Carr because they needed a guy like that badly. And they've let these signings break them off of free agency. You don't need to go make Brandon Carr signings, but you do need to make value signings to make your team better. And they just don't participate at all.
Was Carr the one that OBJ had the one-handed grab over? Was that him?
Yeah, it was.
Okay. Now,
here's the thing.
The Cowboys won that game.
That's the funniest part about that game is everybody shows that, and it's an unbelievable catch.
It was an unbelievable catch, and the Giants went up 7-0, and then they ended up losing the game.
Yeah, they lost. The Cowboys have actually, since that moment, kind of owned the Giants.
Oh, yeah.
That was the last, other than, there was a game, I think, the next year where they came back and almost won the game, but Dez's, cleat landed out of bounds at the end of the game. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I remember that. And then the year they were so good with Dak and Zeke, they lost to them in the season opener, and I think they lost to them in New York. I think Giants might have swept that season series.
Yeah,
but overall, the Cowboys
just owned the like. The thing is, the good news for the Cowboys, like with the Commanders getting better and the Eagles being elite, is the Giants still exist.
Yeah, they do. They sure
like
do.
that's their right now. That's their self-esteem game. Like, oh yeah, no, we're good at football. You know, that's their self. Now they did beat the Commanders once last year, but kind of a meaningless moment for the Commanders. But they still beat them. They still beat them with Cooper Rush
and Kevontae Turpin spinning everybody out of his shoes.
Yeah. That's why he got a 3. Like, here's the thing: they do pretty good about signing their own and keeping the guys that they like. They just got to like go help these people out a little bit.
Go shopping a little bit, you know?
Yeah, go shopping a little bit. And this is not like, if you look at some of the things available, like, look, Devontae Adams clearly wanted to go back to the West Coast because he went to the Rams so fast, your head will spin. But that was a very palatable deal. DeAndre Hopkins is somebody you probably could have had. You know, he went to the Ravens. Stephon Diggs is somebody they're probably going to sign, who's coming off. And like, that's the thing. They don't sign healthy people.
No, they don't. They love a good injury story.
They like a good, like Peyton Turner, who was a former first-round draft pick. They brought him in on a flyer, and that's fine, but they love that. But instead of taking a guy on a flyer to see if he'll help you out, bring in a guy who's produced.
Yeah, get a good player.
Like, oh, no, we'll coach him up. No, you won't. No one can. Maybe I don't want to, like, knock Peyton Turner.
Yeah, you're not going to.
He's just this year's version of that.
Yes.
But there's a ton of guys that's like, no, they don't work in the league because they don't work in the league. You're not better than anybody else. They've all had the same thing. It's going to be the same thing. Look, and Aaron Rodgers is a Hall of Famer. But
they're like an Instagram influencer who's like, look, I found this sweater at Goodwill for $5.
Yeah.
It's like, okay. I mean, it's kind of a nice sweater, but
I mean, you could go buy one for $25.
Yeah, you probably could have got one at a department store for $25 that was more usable.
Yeah. Wasn't, you don't know who had that sweater.
Yeah, it's not green and pink, you know?
What if it was Kanye's? Do you want that?
All right, thank you, Paul. What's on the big show?
What's on the big show today? We are loaded today. We have, from the Big 12 tournament, Eugene Rapay from the Des Moines Register on Iowa State, John Cooper of ourlads.com, their guide to the NFL, Chris Crutchfield, University of Omaha basketball coach. They're in the tournament, baby. Nikki Collin, Baylor women's basketball coach, and Joseph Duarte of the Houston Chronicle. And we continue our journey through the schedules of every team in the Power Four with the Duke Blue Devils. Darian Mensah joined today, and then my top 5 at the end of the show, which will be puzzling free agency decisions.
Okay.
There we go. Thank you to Steven Simcox. Steven, next week, remind me that we need to talk about Court of Gold on Netflix and why every French sports reporter has me questioning my career choice because they ask really deep questions.
Okay.
Yes. This is the Triple Option. See you in an hour.
A lot of questions as to where people can find the best supplements, because not all supplements are created equal. We know this.
There's so much information out there now, and you can go search online and get a variety of information that clashes, that doesn't even match up. And that's why we have the Swell Score, because we have created this platform where our team of researchers and doctors have come together to bring top-notch quality supplements and information.
So we make sure that if we are recommending a product,